Let me tell you something, ladies. Men are simple. We don't talk in circles unless we're hiding something. If a man is straight with you, his words will match his actions every single time. But when a man starts slipping, when he's moving sideways, he will reveal himself in little phrases. 6 little words can tell you more than 100 excuses ever could. You just have to be listening. Cheating doesn't start with him in somebody else's bed. It starts with how he shifts his language with you. The words he uses, the tone he carries, the way he tries to dodge responsibility. When a man is faithful, he talks with pride. He wants you to know where he's at, who he's with, what he's doing, because he ain't got nothing to hide. But when he's cheating, his mouth becomes his cover up. And if you catch these 6 words, you better pay attention, because they ain't innocent. They're his warning signs. When a man says, "I'm just hanging with friends," it might sound harmless at first. It sounds casual. It sounds like nothing to worry about. But here's the truth. When a man starts using this line over and over again, it becomes a shield. It's one of those excuses that looks innocent on the outside, but deep down, it's a cover. A faithful man doesn't need to be vague. He doesn't need to keep you guessing. He's proud to tell you where he is, who he's with, what he's doing, because he has nothing to hide. If he says he's hanging with friends, you'll hear about which friend, what place, what they did. He'll come home with details that make sense, because the story matches the reality. But when a man is lying, he stays general. He keeps it short. He keeps it cloudy. "I'm just hanging with friends" is his way of dodging specifics, because specifics can trap a liar. Relationships are built on communication, and communication is built on trust. A man who is committed to you won't make you question. He knows that vagueness breeds suspicion, and suspicion is poison to love. But a man who's cheating doesn't care if you feel secure. He just cares about covering his tracks. So he'll toss out this phrase like it's a normal thing, hoping you don't dig deeper. And the sad part is most women don't want to appear controlling, so they let it slide. They tell themselves, maybe I am overthinking. Maybe I should just let him be. But your intuition doesn't lie. If his friends never have names, if the details never show up, if his pattern keeps changing, then those words are your signal. What makes this worse is how often a cheating man will reuse the same excuse, because he knows it's the easiest one to get away with. Friends are invisible people in the story. Friends don't call you to confirm. Friends don't leave proof. So when he says, "I'm just hanging with friends," it's designed to close the conversation. It's designed to stop your questions. But a man who values you doesn't stop the conversation. He opens it. He wants you to feel included in his world. He introduces you to his circle. He makes sure you don't feel left out or second guessing, because your peace of mind matters to him. Think about it if you asked him which friends, and he gets irritated, defensive, or avoids answering. That's a clue. Why? Because a man who's really with friends doesn't get angry about saying who. He's got nothing to lose by being honest. But when his story is shaky, when he's juggling something behind your back, then even a simple question feels like a threat to him. His tone changes, his body language shifts, he suddenly needs to leave the room, or he flips the blame back on you like you're being nosy. That's not love. That's not partnership. That's guilt trying to hide itself. A real man doesn't mind being transparent. He understands that trust is earned daily. If he says he's with friends, he'll offer the details before you even ask, because he knows how much comfort that gives you. A cheating man, though, wants to keep things as shallow as possible. He'll repeat those 6 words like a broken record, because the less he says, the less he risks exposing. It's not the words themselves that give him away. It's the way he uses them, the pattern behind them, the secrecy that follows them. The truth is, ladies, you already know when this phrase doesn't feel right. You feel it in your gut. It's the unease that comes when his stories don't add up. It's the emptiness in his answers, the way he avoids eye contact, the way he brushes you off like your concerns don't matter. Don't ignore that. Don't talk yourself out of what your spirit already knows, because I'm just hanging with friends should bring peace, not doubt. And if it's bringing doubt, then the problem isn't the words. The problem is the man who's hiding behind them. When a man looks at you and says, "Why don't you trust me?" Those words might sound like an honest question, but most of the time it's not really a question at all. It's a defense, a way of shifting the spotlight off of him and putting it onto you. Instead of explaining his actions, instead of showing you consistency, instead of giving you the reassurance that comes from truth, he turns it around to make you feel like the problem. It's a subtle trick, and many women fall into it because you don't want to be seen as insecure or paranoid. But the truth is, trust is not given blindly. Trust is built on actions, and if his actions don't match his words, you have every right to question them. Think about this for a second. If a man is truly faithful, he doesn't have to demand trust. His consistency, his openness, his honesty, they speak louder than any phrase could. A faithful man will let his life be an open book, not because you force him, but because he wants you to feel safe with him. He understands that in a relationship, trust isn't just about believing blindly. It's about building confidence through proof. But when a man is cheating, when he knows deep down that his behavior doesn't line up, he'll reach for this line: "Why don't you trust me?" Because it's easier to make you doubt yourself than to face the truth. It's what psychologists call gaslighting. You bring up something suspicious, and instead of addressing it, he makes you question your sanity. You catch him hiding his phone, deleting messages, or giving you vague answers, and suddenly he's acting offended, like you're hurting him by asking questions. That's manipulation. That's not love. A man who really values you would rather explain than let you feel uneasy. He would rather calm your worries with truth than watch you wrestle with doubt. But a man who says, "Why don't you trust me?" with anger or defensiveness is trying to make you feel guilty for seeing the signs. Here's the real test. When you trust a man who is trustworthy, you feel peace. Your mind is calm, your heart is steady. But when you're dealing with a man who isn't straight with you, no matter how many times he throws that phrase at you, your soul still feels restless. That restlessness is not insecurity, it's intuition. It's your spirit telling you something is off. The danger is when you silence yourself because you don't want to argue. You think, maybe I am the problem. Maybe I should just trust him. But trust is not a weapon he gets to use against you. Trust is a responsibility he has to earn every single day. And think about the tone. When a man says, "Why don't you trust me?" with a calm voice and follows it with openness, that's different. But when he says it with frustration, when he uses it to shut down the conversation, that's when you should pay attention. Because he's not looking to build trust, he's looking to escape accountability. It's a red flag when every conversation ends with him blaming you for being suspicious instead of him doing the work to reassure you. A real man doesn't punish you for your questions. He welcomes them because he has nothing to hide. Ladies, don't let those 6 words trick you into silence. Don't let him flip the script and make you feel like the villain in your own story. If he wants trust, he needs to earn it with his behavior, not demand it with his mouth. You are not crazy for noticing changes in his routine. You are not wrong for catching him being vague. You are not insecure for asking for clarity. What's insecure is a man who cheats and then hides behind phrases like this to keep you from calling him out. So when you hear, "Why don't you trust me?" ask yourself, has he given me a real reason to? Has his pattern been consistent? Has his love been transparent? Or am I constantly being pushed to question myself instead of him? Because if the only proof of his loyalty is those words, then the trust was broken long before you asked the question. When a man looks you in the face and says, "It's none of your business," that phrase carries more weight than he realizes. In a relationship, nothing that affects the two of you is ever none of your business. The moment two people commit to each other, their lives intertwine. What he does, where he goes, who he talks to, it may not mean you control him, but it absolutely affects the relationship. When he says it's none of your business, what he's really doing is building a wall, a line that shuts you out from his truth. And when secrecy starts showing up in a relationship, it almost always means there's something he doesn't want you to see. Think about it. If he's faithful, if he's truly honest, there's no reason to be so defensive. A faithful man welcomes his partner into his world. He may value privacy in small things, but he never weaponizes privacy to block you out. When you ask a simple question like, "Who were you texting?" or "Where were you so late?" and he snaps back with, "It's none of your business," what he's telling you is that your place in his life has limits. He's telling you that parts of his life are off limits to you. And usually those are the parts where lies live. Relationships thrive on openness. Even if the answer is simple or boring, when a man respects you, he gives you clarity because he wants to protect your peace of mind. But a cheating man can't do that. He needs to guard his secrets, so he creates this fake boundary. He pretends that your questions are invasions, when in reality, your questions are perfectly valid. He tries to make you feel like you're prying, like you're being disrespectful, when the truth is he's the one being disrespectful by hiding behind those words. The biggest danger in hearing, "It's none of your business," is that it makes you doubt your right to ask. It silences you. And once you're silenced, he gets more freedom to keep lying. He knows you don't want to fight, so he uses that phrase to control the situation. And little by little, you stop asking, you stop checking, you stop following your intuition. Meanwhile, his double life grows stronger because you've been trained to back off. That's how cheating men operate. They make you feel like the enemy just for wanting the truth. Now let's flip it. Imagine a man who's loyal, who has nothing to hide. If you ask him a question, even one that catches him off guard, his response will never be, "It's none of your business." Instead, he'll say, "Here's what's going on," or "Let me explain." He may even tease you a little, but he won't shut you down because he knows his life is tied to yours. He knows that when you love someone, transparency is a form of respect. Love doesn't hide behind walls, it opens doors. Ladies, don't ever accept "it's none of your business" as a normal part of a relationship. That phrase is poison. It's meant to control, to block, to silence. A man who truly loves you will never make you feel like an outsider in his world. He will want to share, he will want you to know, because your presence matters to him. But a man who cheats has to create distance. He needs private corners where you can't see what he's doing. He needs dark spaces to hide in. And that's exactly what "it's none of your business" provides him. A dark corner where the truth can't be touched. The truth is your intuition already reacts when you hear that phrase. It doesn't sit right. It makes you feel small, unwanted, excluded. That's your spirit telling you that love isn't supposed to make you feel like that. You have the right to be included, to ask questions, to know what's happening. You're not crazy. You're not controlling. You're not unreasonable. You're simply protecting the relationship you've invested in. And if he can't respect that, if he keeps throwing up those words like a shield, then he's already choosing secrecy over honesty. And once secrecy sets in, cheating is never far behind. "I was working late tonight." Now that's one of the oldest lines in the book, and it's one a lot of men lean on when they're trying to cover their tracks. On the surface, it sounds believable. Work is important, work is demanding, and everybody understands that sometimes a job requires late nights. But the real test isn't in the words themselves, it's in the pattern behind them. A faithful man may work late, but he'll always give you clarity. He'll let you know ahead of time. He'll send you a quick message. He'll call you to say it's running longer than expected. He cares about your peace of mind. A cheating man, on the other hand, uses "I was working late tonight" as a blanket excuse because he knows work is one of the few things people rarely question. The problem with this line is that it often comes with holes in the story. He says he's working late, but he can't explain what project, what deadline, what meeting. He gets vague when you ask follow-up questions, or worse, he gets defensive like you're accusing him of something. If he's truly working, details should be natural. He should be able to tell you exactly what kept him there, or at the very least, he should care enough to reassure you instead of brushing you off. But when a man is hiding, the last thing he wants is to get caught in too many specifics. That's why "I was working late" is the perfect cover. It's broad, it's believable, and it shuts down most suspicion, at least at first. But here's the thing, consistency tells the truth. A man who actually works late shows consistency in his schedule, his energy, his behavior. He comes home tired, but focused on his responsibilities. He may even have emails, messages, or a boss who could back it up. But when it's a lie, the inconsistencies pile up. He comes home at odd hours, but he doesn't look like a man who just left work. His clothes might not match his excuse. His phone stays guarded. He gets annoyed when you ask for small details, like who else stayed late or what time the office closed. It's not that he's working late. It's that he's working on excuses. Ladies, don't ignore how your body reacts to this line. If something feels off every time he says it, it's because your intuition knows the difference between honesty and avoidance. A man who loves you doesn't let you sit up at night wondering if he's really at the office. He won't allow doubt to eat at your heart. Instead, he'll go out of his way to reassure you, even if it means sending a quick photo at work, introducing you to coworkers, or being proactive in communication. That's how a faithful man handles late nights, with respect for your trust. But a man who's cheating uses "I was working late tonight" as a curtain. He's hoping you'll never pull it back. Another thing to notice is how often it happens. Work emergencies aren't daily events. Projects don't magically appear every night. If "I was working late" becomes his regular excuse, that's no longer coincidence. That's a cover story. Watch his energy when he comes home. Is he relieved to see you, or does he look guilty, distracted, and distant? Does he act defensive before you even ask a question? Those are the signs his late nights have nothing to do with the office and everything to do with keeping secrets. Real love thrives on accountability. A man who is loyal doesn't hide behind his career to protect lies. He knows that honesty doesn't mean giving you every detail of his workday, but it does mean making sure you're never left in the dark. "I was working late tonight" should bring peace, not suspicion. If it consistently brings you doubt, it's because the man behind the words isn't being truthful. And the more he repeats it without evidence, the more those 6 words become a mask for betrayal instead of a statement of responsibility. You're overthinking too much. That line right there is one of the most dangerous phrases a man can use when he's trying to hide the truth. It sounds harmless, almost like he's trying to comfort you. But most of the time, it's not about comfort at all. It's about control. When a man cheats, he knows the signs start to show. His patterns change, his habits shift, and your intuition picks up on it. Instead of dealing with your questions honestly, he tries to dismiss them by making you believe the problem isn't him, it's you. You're overthinking too much. Becomes his weapon to silence your instincts. The truth is, women have a powerful sense when something isn't right. Call it intuition, call it discernment, call it a gut feeling. It's rarely wrong. A faithful man respects that. He doesn't make you feel crazy for asking questions. He understands that a secure relationship is built on reassurance. If he's innocent, he'll explain, he'll show you consistency, and he'll be patient because he knows your comfort matters. But a cheating man doesn't want to put in that work. He doesn't want to explain his sudden late nights, his secretive phone, his distant energy. Instead, he takes the easy route. He throws out this phrase to make you doubt yourself. What makes this line so dangerous is the psychological trap it creates. Once you start believing you're overthinking, you begin to silence yourself. You hesitate to bring things up because you don't want to be seen as dramatic or insecure. And that's exactly what he wants. He wants you second-guessing yourself so he can move in silence. The more you stay quiet, the more freedom he has to continue his double life without interruption. By the time you realize what's happening, he's already been getting away with it for far too long, all because he trained you to ignore your own instincts. But here's the thing, love isn't about dismissing feelings. Love validates. Love listens. Love reassures. If you feel unsettled and he truly cares, he won't call you crazy or accuse you of overthinking. He'll do what it takes to bring peace back into the relationship. The moment he repeatedly uses "you're overthinking too much" as a way to shut you down, it's no longer about peace. It's about hiding. He's protecting his secret more than he's protecting your heart. Look closely at when he says it. Does it come right after you notice inconsistencies? When you ask why he's always guarding his phone? Why his schedule doesn't make sense? Why his mood changes suddenly? If every time you bring up something real, he throws back, "You're overthinking," that's not coincidence. That's a pattern. He knows you're onto something, and his best defense is making you feel like you're the problem. A man who is faithful doesn't fear questions. He fears losing your trust if he doesn't answer them. But a man who cheats fears the question itself, so he dismisses it altogether. Don't let this phrase rob you of your voice. Your feelings are not an exaggeration. Your questions are not a weakness. The fact that you care enough to ask shows you value the relationship. If he truly values you back, he won't belittle your concerns. Instead, he'll meet them with truth. Remember, this silence may keep the peace for a while, but it doesn't heal the cracks. And those cracks only get wider when dishonesty hides behind smooth phrases like this. A man who loves you wants you to feel safe in the relationship, not confused. He wants you to trust your instincts, not fight against them. If you're overthinking too much becomes his shield every time you raise a concern, then the truth is clear. He's not trying to protect your heart. He's trying to protect his lies. Your intuition is not your enemy. The real enemy is the man who keeps using those words to make you ignore it. It won't happen again, promise. Those words often come after the storm has already hit, after the truth has already slipped out, and the damage has already been done. On the surface, they sound like regret. They sound like a man admitting he messed up and wants to do better. But if you listen closely, many times they are not words of true change. They are words of desperation. They are spoken to calm you down in the moment, to stop the argument, to avoid the real consequences of his actions. A cheating man leans on this phrase because it buys him time, not because it represents a genuine transformation. When a man truly wants to change, his actions will shift before his words ever do. He won't have to beg for another chance because you'll see his remorse in the way he carries himself, in the way he takes responsibility, in the way he puts in work to rebuild what he broke. But when the only thing he has to offer you is, "It won't happen again, promise," you should be careful. That phrase alone has no weight unless it's backed up by consistent effort. Without action, it's nothing more than a quick patch on a deep wound. Think about why he says it. Usually, it's not because he suddenly realized the pain he caused. It's because he got caught. He didn't confess out of honesty. He got exposed out of carelessness. So the promise isn't about you. It's about him. It's about keeping his comfort, keeping his place in your life, keeping the benefits of the relationship without facing the true cost of betrayal. It's a survival tactic. He's not trying to change his ways. He's trying to escape the consequences. That's why this phrase gets repeated so often by cheaters. They know it's just enough to tug at your emotions, just enough to make you hesitate, just enough to keep you holding on even when trust has been broken. But ladies, a promise without proof is empty. Real change is shown, not spoken. If he says, it won't happen again, but his behavior looks the same secrecy, the same defensiveness, the same lack of accountability, then he hasn't learned a thing. All he's doing is banking on your forgiveness without earning it. And if you keep accepting that phrase without requiring evidence of change, then it becomes a cycle. He cheats, he gets caught. He says the words, you forgive, and then the cycle repeats. Each time, the promise loses more of its meaning, and each time, your trust takes a deeper hit. Contrast this with a man who is genuinely sorry. He won't just throw out empty promises. He will take responsibility without excuses. He will open his life up to you. He will invite accountability, and he will do the uncomfortable work of rebuilding trust brick by brick. He won't pressure you to forgive quickly because he understands that healing takes time. He will care more about proving his loyalty than about keeping his convenience. That's the difference between a man who values you and a man who values himself more than the relationship. So when you hear, it won't happen again, promise, don't just listen to the words. Watch the follow-up. Does he change his patterns? Does he give you transparency? Does he show consistency day after day? Or does he slide right back into the same behavior as soon as the heat dies down? A man who is serious about change won't need to repeat that promise because his actions will prove it loud enough that you'll never have to ask. A man who's lying will keep repeating it because he knows the words work on your heart even while he's planning his next move. The truth is, those 6 words are a test. They test whether you'll settle for comfort or require accountability. They test whether he's really ready to change or just ready to keep playing the same game. And deep down, you already know the answer. If the words bring peace because they're backed by visible effort, then maybe they carry weight. But if the words feel hollow, if they sound like a broken record, then they're not a promise. They're just a performance. And love deserves better than performances.